Yamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvisha Vahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So something we've been planning for a while. It's starting. I'm very happy about that. I welcome all the students, our own students that have been studying with me for a while, and a lot of new people that have also joined in. I'm very happy about that. So this is an important initiative, a sankalpa, to promise ourselves, each one of us, to do some vichara. So it's an important word in Vedanta, vichara. So it consists of two parts, vi, which is a prefix, and chara. So chara means to think, to go. So charanam means to go, to proceed forward is called chara. Vichara is a very particular form of thinking, which is focused thinking. And I think that probably the best translation of that in English is the word contemplate. So it is different from meditation. Meditation is kind of like the next form of it. But before meditation, it is important for us to get into a habit of doing vichara, contemplation. And so what that means essentially is that you have to focus on the goal that we are equipping ourselves with, and then continue to make sure that all the thoughts that you are concerned with are related to that. This is what contemplation. So the contemplation that we need to do is perhaps on the most important question that each one of us should be asking, which is, who exactly am I? So we make compromises. We know a lot about ourselves, our mother and father, who we were born with, etc., our education. So there's a lot that we know about ourselves. But if we really think about it, that is just a very small part of the total knowledge that we need to have about ourselves, which is, what is my origin? What is my present situation? And when, most importantly, what is my future? And these are things that are not easy to contemplate on, and therefore we neglect it. Until we have some problems and issues in our life that deeply concern us. It's kind of like, I was thinking about it, that if you have some normal problems in your physical problems in your life, like you have a cold or a cough or a headache or something like this, then you can go to the pharmacist, the CVS and the Walgreens, and you can get some relief from that. And you go on with it. You think, I had a cold, I had a cough a couple of months ago, I'm now done with it, so on. But then if you have a more fundamental issue in your life as to why is it that I'm not very happy, and so that is something which is not going to come and go. That is something which is deeply seated in the recesses of our mind. So this is what we call a disease. And a disease consists of two parts, dis-ease. If you really think about it, this is exactly what characterizes each of our lives. That we are not completely comfortable with who we are. We are somewhat, okay, but the deep-seated desire to be totally satisfied at all times unconditionally is not there. We have this sense of dis-ease. So this dis-ease, which is a disease really, is not going to be solved by, going to CVS or Walgreens like panaceas. This is not symptomology. Either you have something which is deeply ingrained in you where you cannot be happy, or there is some cure for it that needs to be investigated with contemplation. This is exactly what we need to do. So here, the shastra comes to our aid and said, you're okay. You are completely okay. You're missing some pieces of information about yourself that you have not considered. And as a result of that, you have a sense of non-comfortableness about yourself. And so if you could really get that, learn what that piece of information is, you're already okay. And you will now discover, my gosh, I didn't realize it. I'm okay. I'm fine. In fact, I'm completely free. So this is the main purpose of our course that we are taking. And here, I mean, this is given again and again with various ways. Just recently we conducted this about a 13-segment course called Introduction to Advanced Vedanta. And there we looked into what the Shastra is basically saying, very beautifully articulated in Advaita Makaranda by Sri Lakshmidhara, the second verse. Ahamasmi sadabhami kadachit naham apriyaha brahmaivaham atasiddham satchidananda lakshanam. Very beautiful. It's a Mahavakya. Vakya doesn't have to be Tattvamasi, Ayam Brahma. This is a Mahavakya. So it says is that fundamentally you're okay. That's what I'm explaining a little bit more before we go on. What it says is that can you see that you are never not? Sadasmi. See that. And we're going to look into that in more detail. But see that. If you interrupt it by saying, well, I was not at one time, well, that's a mistake because you're now considering the body-mind I'm not talking about the body-mind you. Has it ever been the case you were not there? Well, I may not be there in the future. Again, that's something which is a speculation. I'm not talking about speculation. Look at facts. Are you not always there? Can you negate the fact that even if you were to say, no, sometimes I'm not there, who is it saying it? The one who's saying it, who's already there, is the one who's saying, I may not be there. Anyway, I'm going into much detail that we'll cover later. Sadas. So really basically, if you fundamentally break down our basic objectives for each one of us. When you say basic means that, it's almost like, I don't have to say for everyone. Basic means for everyone. Basic needs are, I want to be always, sadasmi. And I want to know that I am. If somebody says, okay, you'll be in coma. No, 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 no. I want to be aware. And I want to be unlimited. Ananda Swarupa. These are the three things. People look for, they say, I want to explore Ishvara, God. I want to know God. So one can ask, why do you want to know God? Well, I want to know who created this. All this creation business is secondary. You know what it really means when you say, I want God? I want to be like God. And because my idea of what Ishvara is that he's free, he's happy, he's not bothered by any problems, he's the boss. That's what I want to be. Somehow I never aspire to be because I don't think I can be, but this is what I want to be. And I would say that if our attempts at finding God are both sincere and desperate, sharanagati, it has to be, I don't want anything else. This is what I want to do. If you do that, you know what will happen? Ishvara will come close to you and whisper in your ears, as Krishna did to Arjuna, that you're my friend, I'm telling you. This is exactly what Ishvara, this is how we are going to find Ishvara coming close to us and whispering to us and saying, can I tell you something? You are already me. You just don't doubt it. You are already me. So this self-discovery, who exactly am I, is the central part of the contemplation of this course. This is what we're going to do. So, so what it means is that we have to, with the help of the shastra, do the right things to make sure that we are following the right path. We need the help, and this is where this prayer comes in. The prayer that we're going to do before each class. So we are going to do three prayers, and I won't really explain you know about all that. So one will be Sadashiva Samarambham, which I did. The second one we will do is something peculiar to Atharva Veda. And so to have a Shanti mantra which is appropriate to a particular Veda is important. And so that means Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyema Kshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangaistuštubhagum Sastanubhi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no brihaspati dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So that's the second prayer we will do. And then we will do the Sahana Vavatu. So let me comment very briefly on the last two. First one, that I appreciate the Vidya which has been kept together from Guru Shishya, Guru Shishya, Guru Shishya, occasionally uplifted when it needs to be, like by Adi Shankara and Gaudapadacharya, which we will talk about later, and all the way up to the teacher who's living And so in Vedanta, in Vedas, the teaching is by living gurus. Unlike some of the other religions, like in Sikhism, for example, they just say, just study the Guru Grantha and don't, the last Guru is gone. That's not our Hindu thinking. It's a living Guru. So Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. So that was that. And this prayer here, Karne Bhishniyama Devaha, means, may I contemplate in the right direction. Because a lot of the time we are so busy in our life in the useless direction. This is the problem. This is going to be a big issue as we continue. It's totally useless. We need to distinguish between what is useless and what is useful. Playing cards is generally useless. But my wife and I I have to tell you this. Whenever we go on a plane somewhere, like a 3-hour, we don't go travel that much, but supposing it's an extended time. Then we just recently went to San Diego for a family vacation, hour and a half. We always keep a playing card in hand. And so my wife and I play rummy, and it's wonderful. You just you play about 10 or 12 hands. 1 hour is gone. You're ready to land. It's time well spent. But supposing you're sitting at home and you have time on your hand. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. I don't want to listen to music or anything. But at home, playing cards is useless. People spend, I cannot believe that some of my friends, they have card parties 3 days a week. One group here on Wednesday, one group on Friday. Useless. Similarly, in our pursuit also, we have those so many useless. So part of the contemplation is what is useful and what is not. And so here, Bhadram Karne Bihi Shuniyama Devaha means, may all the devatas help me in directing me to the right direction. This is the big part of it. And then since I'm on the topic, I might as well talk about the Sahana Vavatu, which is a very important verse. Very important verse. We always say that. The reason why it is an important verse is that in this initiative of looking into who am I, a joint effort between you and I is crucial. Absolutely crucial. It has to be a Guru Shishya combination. I have to work hard to make sure that I am sincere. I'm sincere meaning in the sense I'm regularly there, don't waste time going around here and there, that I study, I prepare notes for you, I make an attempt to explain things to you. This is my part. Your job is also to exhibit the similar kind of effort from your side. I would say that because these are online classes, you need to be careful. Probably the most important thing to be careful is not to do multitasking while you are studying. I would very much like, you can sip a cup of coffee if you want, or eat a piece of toast, that's okay. But to do emailing while you're listening to me and so on, you're wasting your time. A lot of our communication will be just casual thinking here and there, which suddenly triggers a thought. This is exactly what happens to me. I'm reading books by Swami Maheshananji or Swami Dayananji and so on. It's not just the main passages, but something they say that says, oh my gosh, yes. So that you will miss if you're not really putting your efforts in. So from your standpoint, I would also say that because these YouTube videos are stored. You don't have to really listen or watch this live streaming every time. But what I would like to ask you is that before the next class, you should make sure that you don't lose the continuity, because this is all a very structured way that I'm going to unfold. And so anyway, so I don't want to spend any more time on that. That's the effort on your part. And so with Sahanavavatu means may you and Vedasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvisha Vahai. May we do not have any misunderstanding. May you have Shraddha on me, and may I have Shraddha in you, that you are a capable student. This is not going to be easy. It's going to be quite a challenge. And I think until we put both of our best feet together, we are not going to go do vichara. We're not going to contemplate successfully. Anyway, so those are the three prayers that we are going to do every time. Okay? So now a little bit about how I chose this particular text and this way of teaching that I've been thinking now for a while. So it's interesting. The acharyas say that Vedanta is exactly like a very ambitious discipline of learning. Very much like, no less than, perhaps much more than medicine, engineering, computer science, legal aspects, pharmacy, whatever, because it takes quite a bit of study to do that. This takes even more than that. And so what that means is that initially things are given to you in a somewhat simpler way. And then eventually it gets to be more subtle and subtle and subtle. And in some cases you actually erase what was given to you first. Anyway, that's one analogy that we will come back later. I think the more important thing is, in terms of recognizing who am I, that picture of who am I is interrupted by a lot of doubts in our own mind. Even if the picture is given to you, your own mind says, I'm not sure about that. No, I have Shraddha and so on, but. So this but that comes in means you have doubts that you haven't cleared yet. And so what happens is, and the Shruti, the acharyas know this. And so this is why they will say, you don't have to see the whole picture right away. Don't even feel disappointed that you cannot see it. But what you should do is to begin to recognize smaller pieces of it. This is why we start with Tattva Bodha and Bodhisara and all those small pieces. You look at sadhana, sadhya, you look at atma, anatma, mithya, all those kinds are small pieces. You just understand that. Okay? It's kind of like I liken it to a very sophisticated jigsaw puzzle. I saw this, my son and my older son and his wife, they had gone to some vacation, and they had two daughters. They're both now 17, almost 18, so they're older now. But at that time, they used to have a big jigsaw puzzle on the table. And I've never done that in my life, but this is like, I don't know, 1,000 pieces if there are, something like that. And they do not put it together overnight. If they're going to stay there for 1 week, if they have a few minutes, they will all come by, and everybody comes together and puts small pieces here and there. Also, I found this is the tail of a horse. Okay, good, good, good. Exactly what the study of Vedanta is that you look at small portions and you become good at it. And really, I've been studying it for a while, and this is exactly what happened to me. But somehow, the big picture was not yet visible to me. But as you start to study and put pieces of the puzzle together, you begin to see the full picture. And I have to tell you, it was not until I discovered the Gaudapadacharya's Karika that the big picture for me began. It's not absolutely clear yet, but it's a lot clearer than it used to be. And I'm very, very enthused and happy, just for myself, that it's beginning to come together as a full picture. And that started when I started studying the Karika. And as several of you know who are my students, we actually conducted a course on the Karika based on Swami Maheshanandaji's Gaudapada Sara. He's written two-volume book, much smaller than these 4 volumes. But what was interesting there, because this is when my study of the shastra using the Hindi, my own vernacular language, my mother language, became very effective for me about, 10, 12, 15 years ago. Because the first 25, 30, 40 years I've been studying Sanskritam, and it's not easy. It's not, I still cannot read more than a couple of pages a day. But when it started reading Hindi, my contemplation became more real to me. And so we reviewed the Karika in a course that we studied with you, some of you. And but even then, it was an introduction, more like Shravanam, And so it started to grow on me, but wasn't there. Last year, when I got hold of Swami Akhandananda's text, and I have to tell you that because, I spent 2.5 years in an ashram with Swami Dayanandji, we had not studied more than just the first portion of the Karika, so I didn't get the full picture of it. So this is the first time that I really got into it. Last year, when I started reading Swami Akhandananda's books, it was a revelation. And it's like, you're already done all the homework, and now it is putting it together. So very excited about it. And right there and then I thought that we would start a course based on that, and this is the result of that, and I look forward to it as we go forward. So we talked in the last week's class about texts a lot. So I won't spend a lot of time on it today because I want to start the whole process of teaching very soon. But I do want to mention a couple of things regarding the text, and one other text that I didn't get a chance to mention it to you. So let me just talk about that, okay? So it turns out that during the last week, I spent some time going over Swami Dayanandji's new Mandukya book, this one, okay? The one that got released recently, the 4-volume one in English. So I studied about 25, 30 pages of it. And of course, I've been studying Swami Akhandananda's books for the last year. I think I've done it about twice already. Some passages more than twice. here's the thing that I want to caution you on this as well. Swami Dayananji's book was transcribed from his course for his students in Anaikatti in the year 1990 to 91. So these are people, and he teaches them only after they've spent a year and a half with them studying Prasthanatraya and also a lot of knowledge of Sanskritam. So these are very serious students who are, and these are 3 or 4 classes a day over the period of 2.5 years. So it's very concentrated dose. So these books are transcribed from his class notes to his own dedicated students. There's no general public there. Okay, I can tell because when I was reading this. But this is a caution for you. Do not think that you're reading this book, if you were to read this, you are immediately going to ease into the concepts, because it is very technical. There's a lot of Sanskritam involved in that, a lot of bhashya involved with that. All of that is given here. It's very nice, very detailed. But I just want to tell you that it's not going to be as easy a reading. You're welcome to get it. We have about 25, 26 people who have asked for it. And I think we can probably satisfy 20 right away. If you still want to do that, I'm going to send that list out to you one more time. But I'm just telling you that don't think that it's you start reading this and you because it is really meant for advanced students. And if you are one of them, fine, you will get a lot out of it. Because this is this book. Swami Akhandananda's books, on the other hand, just to give you an idea, because I've been studying this for a while, are transcribed from his public talks given in Mumbai, as the best as I can understand. I don't remember the year that he gave it. I think it is in the 80s, 1980s or so, somewhere in there. But these are public talks given to people who are already interested. So it's not like going to brand new place where people don't know Vedanta. No, they all seem to know Vedanta very well. But they are not the serious students in a class. The result of that is that his explanations and his examples and his way of unfolding is a lot easier. A lot easier. So I would say, if for those few of you that know Hindi and do want to get a text, this is a good text to get. If you don't know, having said all that, there's one more text I want to talk about, but having said all that, what I would say is this. You please don't worry about texts at this point. You please listen to, have some confidence that with my challenging presenting this material to you in a structured manner, you will have enough notes to get by. You can supplement it by reading later, but you can just listen, take notes, ask questions, have dialogue with me. That'll go a long way towards your understanding. Okay? This is what I'm just telling you. So don't worry too much about texts at this point. Unless you want to really look at everything, back it up, then fine. All right, now I'm going to introduce a brand new book that I had not talked about last week. This is an amazing book that I've had for about 20 years. This is a book called Mandukya Upanishad with Karika. published by in Rishikesh, called Kailasa Ashrama. And I don't know if you've been to Rishikesh and Kailasa Ashrama. They are a very well-known ashrama of scholarly people who have really done a marvelous job of, of preserving the books of Vedanta. And many of our acharyas, including Puja Swami Dayanandji, also spent a lot of time studying there. And it is very close to our own ashram in Rishikesh. I've been there 2 or 3 times, and sometimes to get books. And I think I got this book from them as well. I got this in year 2002. This is a book where you have Mandukya Karika, Mandukya Upanishad, the Karika, and you have the Shankara Bhashya, and you have Anandagiri Tika. So all of them are there. And furthermore, luckily for me, it also has Hindi translations. Not for everything, not for the, I think Shankara Bhashya has it, but not for Anandagiri Tika. But for most of it, there's a lot of Hindi and a lot of Sanskrit. And I studied this in the year 2002, 2003 for a while, but didn't get as much out of it because it is too terse for me. It was at that. Now I discover, this just happened in the last month or so, that the talks by Swami Akhandanandaji mirrors the book here very well in Hindi. So for example, all the examples that he takes are very close to what Anandagiri ji has pointed out here. So there is some consistency, and my trust in resolving the doubts by Swami Akhandanandaji has increased because he is tethered in the technical aspect of Shankara Bhashya, Anandagiri Tika, and of course Gaudapadacharya. So I just wanted to give you all these textual things you don't need to get this unless you are interested, especially if you are studying Sanskrit and you don't need to know Hindi, but it's a very good compendium of all the 3 or 4 commentaries on it. Okay, so let me set that aside for a minute. Okay. So the way I think I'm going to present the material to you is that once you have a picture, conceptual picture of who am I, what's happening, then you can refer back to the specifics as they fit into that picture. So you see there's a slight difference in the way I'm presenting this. So one would be where you continue to look at pieces of the puzzle, hoping that the full picture will come later. The other approach is just tell them what the full picture is, tell ourselves what the full picture is, and even if we do not see the full picture yet, then put in the pieces of the puzzle that might fit into that full picture. And Swami Akhandanandaji takes the latter approach. This is what was very nice for me to understand. He just continues to focus on the full picture. And there are some concepts of the full picture Like, for example, I'll just mention it now, although we are going to do this. Drishti Srishti Vada. Eka Jiva Vada. There is only one real Jiva, not multiple Jivas. And so all of these comprise the total picture, and he might display some ideas where this could be doubted. I know one of the students recently wrote to me that, I've been studying Aneka Jivavada versus Eka Jivavada, and so it apparently you're still studying the individual picture. Here, however, the overall picture is firm. It's been resolved through all the discussions and so on. And these Mahatmas say, well, this is what it is. I'm telling you. Then you can discuss the challenges to it from Sankhya, from Yoga, from Vaisheshikas, and etc. All those kinds of the Purva Mimamsa. You're going to discuss the challenges. But your firm idea is this is where the full picture is. And this is stated over and over again. So the full picture is never not kept in mind as you are discussing. This I appreciated very well. And so what that does is, for someone like ourselves who is still struggling to see which one is the right one and so on, you begin to see that how convincing, how firm, how consistent this view is. And of course, you see that these are people who have become Jivan Muktas. Now, how do you know that? You can do that in two ways. Okay. How do you know a person is a Sadguru and a Jivan Mukta? There are two ways. One is when you start studying the works of such a person, sayings of such a person, that gives you the kind of appeal, your mind says, oh my God. Yep, this is it. This is one way. The other way is the acceptance by other wise people. So in the case of Mahatmas like Swami Dayanandji and Swami Akhandanandji and Swami Maheshanandji, you find that this is accepted, resounded, confirmed by thousands of people. And that doesn't have to be Sankhyas and Yogas and Purva Mimamsas and so on, but just amongst the Shankara Vedanta people, Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhya, those people, they are revered. So that's the second method for finding the right person. And so when I started studying the Karika with the help of Swami Akhandanandji, first with Swami Maheshanandji and now with the Akhandanandji, that picture became very firm. Not very, but firmer than before. I'm still evolving, but kind of like coming closer to what I think it's going, for me. And then my challenge would be to convince you. And all I can do is to just keep teaching it the way I was taught. And hopefully you also see the same thing. So anyway, to summarize, what I'm going to do is to probably spend more time in the basic concepts of this full picture. And I'm using this rather loosely, full picture, full picture, full picture. What does it mean? I'll have to explain that to you. But But you see what I'm saying? So what I'm not going to do is to say individual vakyas, okay, this is what it means, because that's a local jigsaw puzzle. I will continue to talk about the overall aspect of it. And by the way, I gave a glimpse of that in these last 13 classes on Introduction to Advanced Vedanta. It is exactly the same, it's an aspect of the full picture. And so for those of you that saw that, you will see a reconfirmation in much more detail. If you haven't seen it, you haven't lost anything, it's okay. You'll see it again. So this is how we will proceed on doing that. And you will see that from the, I'm going to actually, what time is it, 9:15? Yeah, we still have time. So I'm going to do a couple of verses. And so you, even in the verse itself, it will come how the aspects, conceptual aspects of the full picture are. Okay, so let's proceed. So I think that, again, at this point, a slight departure from what we had done. I'm talking to our friends that took the Mandukya course with me in 2017. And what we have done there was looked at all the four prakaranas, how they are different from each other. That is Shravanam, and that is text-based. Here, I'm going to take an approach of just going into the teaching right away, and as the prakaranas come, that's fine, we can do that. So it's less pedantic, I would say. Okay, so that's number one. The second thing I want to talk about, and probably an important thing, is the importance of the teaching of Sri Gaudapadacharya. Okay, so as you know, Sri Gaudapadacharya was the Parama Guru of Adi Shankara. So Adi Shankara's guru was Govindacharya, and Govindacharya's guru was Padmacharya. And in the literature, it is mentioned that Adi Shankara's teaching was deeply influenced by Sri Gaudapadacharya. Now, what happened there was that Gaudapadacharya, of course, wrote this seminal book, text called Karika, and it is so well recognized as the quote-unquote Bible of the Vedic thinking, that the only text that has been given the title Karika is this one. There's no other Karika. So we've talked about that already. Secondly, all the acharyas that came later give credit to their thinking for Gaudapadacharya. So what Gaudapadacharya has done, in fact, I saw a comment from, when I was revising this book from, this is where I read it. When I was just reading this book just in this last 1 week from Kailasa Ashrama. So one of the people that actually did the editing of the book writes this. He says that Mandukya Upanishad is a very short Upanishad, and it is not accompanied by any karma or upasana. Because most of the other book or the Upanishads, they also have these secondary aspect that brings out the jnanam. So if you look at Taittiriya Upanishad, there is Shikshavalli and all that. Then there are, of course, Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya and so on. They have a lot of karma, a lot of upasana. So they are embellished with a secondary set of things that provide the basis for the jnana. These are the other Upanishads. Mandukya doesn't do that. Mandukya simply goes into 12 verses, one of the briefest Upanishads, and to the point and very succinct and therefore difficult to understand. Om is everything. What do you get out of it? Om is everything. You accept it, but you don't understand it. And so the comment made by this, I think it was Umeshanand Shastri, is the person who wrote this, the editor for this. He says that the Mandukya was made famous by the Karika. There is no other book that has unfolded the deep meanings of Mandukya except for Karika. This is the grandeur of Sri Gaudapadacharya. He just did a marvelous job. And it's a complete shastra, very much like Bhagavad Gita, and very detailed, 215 verses. I don't know how many of them will be able to do. We have limitations, only once a week, and for just an hour, hour and 50. I think most of my classes I'd like to do it for about an hour and a quarter. So we have very limited time. I don't know how we'll tackle it. Whatever happens, happens. All right, so with that, let's do this. Let's at least do some partial portion of one verse. Okay. All right, so what we will do is that let me see options of using different books. So let's do this. There are two prayer verses written by Adi Shankara in his Bhashya for the Karika. So these two verses are not there in the Karika itself, but they are in the Shankara Bhashya on the Karika. So you won't find it in the Karika itself, but they are very important verses, and they are commented very profusely by Swami Dayananda Saraswati in this book, as well as Swami Akhandananda in this book, as well as, of course, in the Kailasa Ashrama book. And there, in fact, the two prayer verses are commented upon very well by the Tika from Anandagiri. And so I will briefly discuss that before we even go to the first verse. In fact, if you look at this book by Swami Akhandananda, there will be about 105 pages before we go to the first verse of the Mandukya. This is how much conceptual introduction there is on this. but you will get a lot out of it. It's not wasted or anything, no. Anyway, so let me do this. I'm going to read the first of the two prayer verses by Adi Shankara. So, and then I'll briefly explain what it is. I won't go through word by word understanding, but just to give you an idea of what it is. So these are called Mangalacharanam Vakya. Mangalacharanam means a prayerful Vakya. And so Anandagiri says that the first Mangalacharanam Vakya is Vidimukhena, and the second one is Nishedha Mukhena. One is Saguna Brahma, the other one is Nirguna Brahma. And this is true for all of us. If you look at yourself and myself as people, so we have a Saguna aspect of ourselves and a Nirguna aspect of ourselves. So the Saguna aspect of that is what is called the personality. And the Nirguna is the person behind the personality. So similarly here, this first verse is towards the Vidimukhena, which is the Saguna aspect of Paramatma. And we are perfect examples of that because the Paramatma is not different from us. And so, but the two aspects are important for us to distinguish from so that you can go from Saguna to Nirguna eventually. So the Saguna is called Swabhava and Nirguna is called Swarupa. Right? One example of that, for example, is if you look at water, H2O, you can consider that as Nirguna. I mean, it's just as a comparative, it's not Nirguna, it also has Guna. As compared to that, Brahman has no Guna whatsoever. Because all Gunas are Brahmana's Guna. But in the case of water, comparatively, H2O is Nirguna. But the expression of the water is Saguna. Like, for example, the waviness or the coldness or the power of falling on something and making the electrical things work is Saguna. But in a lake, absolutely quiet is Nirguna. So something like that. In our case also, our Nirguna is my own person, which we will study more. But the Saguna is the very personality that I display on a daily basis. So these two verses mirror both of them. This is what Anandagiri Tika points out. So anyway, with that. So I don't know if there is a tone to this or not. I'm sorry if I don't have a tone for this. So I'll just do it as a prose. So the first Mangalacharanam is Pragyana Amshu Pratanaihi Sthirachara Nikara Vyapibhihi Vyapya Lokan Bhuktva Bhogan Sthavishtan Punarapi Kishanod Bhasitan Kamajanyan Pitva Sarva Visheshan Swapiti Madhurabhang Mayaya Bhojayannaha Maya Sankhya Turiyam Paramamritam Param Amritam Ajam Brahma Tat Nato Asmi Yat Tat Nato Asmi. So this is a whole huge text by itself. And so I will just translate it instead of just going through word for word. And this is not a, the translation is very beautifully given in Hindi in this book. So I spent some time last night just looking at it. I thought that I would just, and this is not a complete teaching. I'm just giving you a glimpse of it. So he says, the very ending of that is, Yat tat nato asmi, I bow to that Brahman. What Brahman? Which Brahman? The Brahman that pervades the moving and stationary creations. Sthavaram jangamam. Exactly like in a dream also, you have stationary and moving people. So similarly, in the Jagrata Avastha also, they are stationary and moving. The Brahman who pervades the moving and stationary creations, both conscious beings and objects, without any changes in itself. And through the conscious reflections, projects through the Triputi, the triad, seer, seen, seeing, hearer, heard, hearing, etc. And going through that, pleasures and pains of the Jagrata Avastha. We go through good and the bad aspects of experiences. And then, based on that, when that is exhausted for a while, then we enter into a dream world that has a similar kind of a way. There also we have Sukha Dukkha. We sometimes have more dukkha in dreams than we have in Jagrata Avastha. Very funny, really speaking, at many times. Because, you had a very pleasant day and everything seems to be going well and so on. And in the middle of the night, you wake up with this weird dream where there's some violence or there's some problem and so on. And then you come back to the same old thing. So it's very interesting, really speaking, that really the karma and karma phala, if not, it may be less, maybe more in the dream but it's all there. So anyway, because of all the vasanas, you undergo a series of experiences back and forth. And then in the deep sleep, you withdraw all these perturbations onto yourself. And you are hidden from it. They are almost like hidden from you. So if you have a toothache, it's gone. If something bad has happened to your family members or something, and you are in deep distress, gone. Everything, good, bad, everything is suspended for a while. What a phenomena. God is just amazing. And yet, all of this happens in something where there's no effect on yourself, the jnanam, the conscious being that you are. It's like you are the person who has 3 or 4 movies that you're going through, 3 or 4 experiences you're going through. You remain the same person. Anyway, there's a lot behind all this. And then this is the prayer. This is a prayer by Adi Shankara. That, hey Brahman, I admire how you have created me with all these changes that occur in my life, and yet there is no change. It is just an amazing. You pervade everything, and yet there is no pervading. So I thought what I would do is a little bit of 2 minutes of teaching on this idea of the pervader and pervading. And by the way, for those of you that took that course that I talked about, we went through this again, but this is something interesting. Okay, so it's 9:34. So give me about 9 or 10 more minutes to do this. This is just one form of teaching by Swami Akhandananda. So here, he says, Pragyana Amshu, what is the Pragyana Amshu Pratanaihi. Pragyana Amshu Prata. So Pragyana means, we'll go into that in a minute. Pragyana means conscious, the Jnanam. Amshu means a ray. So Pratanaihi means the very appearance of the ray of the Pragyanam. How you make all these things happen, Brahman, I am amazed. So this is the context. So here there is the concept of, first of all, what is Pragyanam? So Pragyanam means a particular knowledge which is something very peculiar. So Jnana means the knowledge that we have as a human being. I have knowledge of English, I have knowledge of Tamil, like that. That is human knowledge. And then I see a table, I have table knowledge. I have wall knowledge. Like that, I have this particular knowledge. And we saw that for that purpose, the Triputi is important. For Jnanam, Triputi is important. Triputi means that there needs to be a seer, there needs to be a seen, and there needs to, and which is both parts of the process of seeing. So there is a pairing involved, there's a pair involved. You cannot see something until you are the seer. You cannot hear something until you are the hearer. And so there is and then the whole process of hearing. So that's the Triputi. So that happens in the Jnanam. Pragyanam means where this is not necessary. You don't have Triputi. In fact, there cannot be Triputi without Pragyanam. Isn't it? Like, for example, supposing you have, you're looking at the table. So you have table vritti, table knowledge. Now you look at the wall. So what has happened is that the table is gone, the wall has come in, but the knowledge remains the same. You see that? Table knowledge, wall knowledge, knowledge remains the same. That is Pragyanam. But we don't think about that because we say table knowledge, wall knowledge, and so on. This is going to be a very important, you talk about concepts. About concepts, the important concepts that underlying the teaching. This points out one important concept that I will repeat over again. The nature of freedom is not to dwell on what you are seeing, it is to dwell on the seer. We need to get into a habit of, this is the contemplation that we spoke of. This is what we have to do. This is an important concept. Anyway, we'll come to that later. I'm running out of time. So here, going back to this, So this is prajnanam. Okay, so that part is done, at least for the time being. Then the second part is amshu. Amshu means a ray. So look at this. In the case of sun, the sun has kind of like a prajnanam in the sense that it is the very source of light. It is made up of light. It is the source of light. It is made up of light. It is the creator of light. It is light. But look at this. The sun is over there somewhere. How is he going to light up the rest of the things? Through the rays, which is just amazing. I mean, just the study of how light travels, how it goes from one place to the other. So there you can say that there is a pervaded relationship. Vyapaka vyapya bhavaha iti. Vyapaka means the sun is the pervader, it is the source, and the lighted objects that it lights up are the pervaded. Vyapya, vyapaka, vyapya. Now, this is okay in our transactional reality, that the sun and objects and so on. But if it is Brahman, which is everything, how can there be a vyapaka vyapya bhava? This is what Swami Vivekananda is pointing out. How is that possible? So we have to explore that. So then we say the only way to do that is through Chidabhasa, by reflection only. By reflection. So then you can say, yes, it is, you can say, I have a mirror in front of me and I am pervading myself in the mirror. So you don't create a brand new person, but you kind of create an image of yourself. There's only one person, but there are two expressions of it. One over here and one in the mirror. So that Chidabhasa is possible, and this is exactly how it is done by Ishvara. Few more minutes. I want to finish this. This is just one point. There's another way that Vedanta understands Vyapaka Vyapya Bhava, which we always talk about, the clay and the pot, the metal like gold and the ornaments. So there, Vyapaka is the gold, Vyapya is the ornaments. So the Vyapya are not different, but they are kind of different because it is not just a lump of gold, it is kind of made up into some very nice ornaments. So that's another way of looking at Vyapaka Vyapya Bhava. Now, another one. In Shankara Vedanta, and this is the Advaita Vedanta using Sadashiva Samarambham, etc. What is done here is not doing this gold and ornaments, which is called Vivartavada. It's not done that way. Then what is done is wrongly seeing a rope as a snake. That is the Vyapya Vyapaka Bhava. You see that? So you see the difference. In the case of the gold and ornaments, one can argue, well, the gold did change I made a clay pot, so the original non-formed clay is gone and a formful clay has now come. So there is a change. How can you say there is no change? In pure Vedanta, even that is not considered to be the main example. Then what's the next example? That in the Rajju Sarpa Drishtanta, means that the rope never changes. It is just a wrong understanding of rope that appears to change. This is the Vyapya Vyapaka Bhava in the case of Advaita Vedanta. There is another one in Advaita Vedanta which is also very important, which is exactly going to happen in the Mandukya Upanishad. In your Swapnavastha, in your dream state, there is a Vyapaka Vyapya Bhava because you have pervaded yourself into a form which is not there. Which is not there. And I think that I should just stop here because there's a couple of more things I want to point out to complete this topic of Vyapya Vapika Bhava. So you see, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to just do word for word for word for word and so on. We are going to look at conceptual thinking where what is it that Adi Shankara was pointing out? He's pointing out this Bhranti in the form of Vyapaka Vyapya Bhava, which I should appreciate in order for me to see the complete picture. So we will comment on that. So I'll make a note of it. This is an incomplete segment of teaching, and in the next class we will take up from that and go on. Okay? So with that, let me close today's class and see if you had any short questions on the YouTube. Otherwise, you can certainly write to me on an email and I will be happy to correspond with you. And occasionally, I think we will plan to have a Zoom session as well so that we have more of a dialogue back and forth. Okay. Om Asato Ma Satgamaye Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaye Mrityorma Amritam Gamaye Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So questions regarding the prayer verses, I was thinking of that. Um, it, I think I'll put that on the WhatsApp group or somewhere, because it is not there in Swami Paramarthananda's books. Let me put this, sorry. Getting your feedback. So, because he's done it not not the Shankara Bhashya. So this is part of the Shankara Bhashya, and I'll try to get it for you one way or the other. So I'll do that. Any other question? So Jen wrote something. Let me see what she wrote. Yeah, youth prayer online. Okay, the same one. Okay, same question. All right, so we'll take care of that. Okay. Yeah, apparently I made a mistake and gave an 8 o'clock for that 9-minute video. I apologize for that. It is at 8:30. Okay, if there's no other questions, I will close the class and look forward to seeing you next week. Hari Om.